Welcome, everyone, to the Captive Audience. I'm Kevin Hoare, and we have a very abbreviated whirlwind show tonight, just solo, but I'm going to just talk about what's been going on in the news today. It's a lot of fascinating stuff, frankly, and important stuff. So let's start out at the national level. President Trump met with the newly elected Prime Minister of Canada, who is not Justin Trudeau. That's the good news. And actually, they seem to have gotten along pretty well. And they still had some friendly jabs at each other. President Trump didn't yield on his point of view that the United States should be self-sufficient in its production of steel and automobiles and things like that. But I think it's also an excellent negotiating position if you're trying to get a country that, frankly, has gotten the better end of all of the deals with the United States so far. To start making some compromises in our trade relationship. And President Trump continued to say that he thought it would be great if that it would be a wonderful marriage to have Canada join the United States. And so the Prime Minister said it's not for sale. President Trump said, in my experience, never say never. The art of the deal continues. But I also think that Alberta, which is a province in Canada that has a lot of oil and gas, is making some serious noises about maybe wanting to leave Canada and potentially join the United States. Wouldn't that be fascinating? Next, in the news, the Supreme Court has allowed the Trump ban to be enforced on having trans people in the military, and of course, it is a medical. It's a condition that, as a result of surgery, forever needs medical care, and so he has gotten rid of the Biden era allowance for that, and the Supreme Court has allowed it to go forward. So that tends to mean that he'll probably prevail when he gets into a court situation later and is heard by the Supreme Court. This is really interesting. India has launched missiles at 9 locations in Pakistan, and Pakistan occupies Jammu and Kashmir, provinces that Pakistan says belongs to Pakistan, and India says belongs to India. These are nuclear-armed countries. We should keep an eye on that. But again, this is not the United States. These are two countries right next to each other who do have relationships with the United States. But frankly, trouble is getting stirred up between them right now. As it turns out, the FBI misled the public in 2017. If you remember the shooting that severely, almost mortally wounded Steve Scalise, the majority leader in the House as of today. He was shot by a Bernie Sanders supporter, and the FBI apparently during the Trump administration, when this happened, misled the public in claiming that the shooting wasn't domestic terrorism. That the FBI saying this was not an act of terrorism, was based upon falsehoods, half-truths, and manipulations of known facts that the FBI had at its disposal at the time. I tell you, this is just going to keep coming. The FBI has a chance of restoring its reputation, but frankly, only if they find a way to come clean on all this stuff. So I think that, stay tuned. There's going to be more that's going to come out about this, and it should, because I think the truth shall set you free, and maybe if we get rid of the bad elements and reform the FBI and the other agencies that have done this kind of stuff, public trust can be restored. And the FBI tried to conclude, by the way, that it was suicide by cop instead of domestic terrorism, but they had all this information that clearly indicated that this guy was out to kill people, not kill himself. And It's funny how uh, Ashley Babbitt was called a domestic terrorist, an unarmed Ashley Babbitt who was shot and then recently settled with the U.S. government. I think it was a lot of money. I don't know how much it was, but I thought it was millions of dollars that she got in a settlement for wrongful death. And um, they spent years saying that all those people were domestic terrorists, and not one of them was armed. This guy comes in, Bernie Sanders supporter, targets Republicans at a baseball practice and tries to kill them. And they did everything they could to cover it up. And they found on this guy's Facebook, Trump is a traitor. Trump has destroyed our democracy. It's time to destroy Trump and company. He joined groups such as Terminate the Republican Party, join the Worldwide Resistance. So there you go. Um, it's the truth really is going to be the path here. Meanwhile, back on the international level, there are protests breaking out in China over the effect of the Trump tariffs because factory workers are demanding back pay. And I have heard many other reports saying um, that the order books are just blank because China's decided to fight instead of negotiate on trade, and that some 16 million jobs might actually be at stake in that are dependent on exports. So this is a real thing, and President Trump is frankly has the upper hand. I guess there have been some formal trade talks that have started that are beginning in Switzerland. Yeah, I think it was maybe 30 or 60 million, Laurie. I can't remember, but this is big boy politics. This is President Trump Yes, folks, I'm back. Sorry, that was a computer crash. Anyway, to continue on with the news here, um, there were some major protests here in Portland that got pretty nasty. Um, and it was at, I was talking about China. Sorry. Well, I think I already kind of covered that. And yeah, I know. Is Facebook or these guys conspire? I don't know. Couldn't tell you. But here's the China article. Um, there's a Portland firm that has had to suspend its messaging app because it was hacked when it was used by former National Security Advisor Mike Waltz. And you could read more about it, but it sounds like um, some white hat hacker discovered and then disclosed to the media someplace that this was actually that this had happened, and now they're trying to fix it. But yeah, it wasn't Signal; it was a competitor. So you can read about that in the article. Portland is in the crosshairs over its sanctuary policy, and it should be. And it's going to get worse because Holman just promised that if people in any way obstruct efforts to remove criminal illegal aliens, um, that they are in violation of federal law and they'll be arrested, kind of like that judge. And it couldn't happen to a more deserving group of people. And it will happen here in Portland. It already did happen years ago. There was a judge who did exactly what that person in Wisconsin did, and nothing happened to her. She just got investigated and then everything was dropped. So I don't think it's going to happen anymore. Oregon Democrats are criticizing President Trump's order targeting NPR and PBS funding. I'm like, finally, this is the way it should be. Yeah, I'll come back to the PSU thing here in a second. Hopefully, I don't have another crash. But you know, I'm done paying for messages that I don't think reflect. Um, it's propaganda, and the government shouldn't sponsor propaganda. They can go find private donors to pay for all of that, and I can give you some specific examples from the campaign in 2024 at a later date that I know of where they weren't fair. They skewed and ignored actually entire races that were competitive in order to obviously help the Democrats. So, not forgiving them for that, and this is long overdue. Meanwhile, apparently the Democrats have a bill where they're going to go and tax um, large tech companies in order to pay for what they call local news. And it's been introduced by it's 14 Democrats. There is one Republican that sponsored it, Dick Anderson. I think they got to explain why we should be paying for this when we don't have money to do many of the things that we really have to do as a state. And so this should be, in my view, on the chopping block. But you can see that now the state has to go find money to pay for things because they want the outlets that are going to just pump out propaganda and keep them in power. Um, let's see, 5 arrested at PSU during the Riley Gaines event, and the 5 people who were arrested apparently are not affiliated with the university, and the event was not affiliated with the university. But I guess that makes it okay to engage in the type of behavior and violence that took place. And it was campus police that asked for and received help from the Portland Police Bureau for crowd control outside the Smith Memorial Union event. And over the course of 90 minutes, officials said Portland police arrested 5 people for various crimes. Riley Gaines is an outstanding individual who stood for the right thing for women and women's rights, real rights, and opposed having a 6'4" male who said he thinks he's a woman be able to compete against her and other women athletes, and also be forced to change nakedly in the same dressing room with this dude. And so it was organized by the Leadership Institute, and there were some students involved with planning the event from PSU, but the PSU spokesperson who clarified that it was just a room rental fee that was paid. She said, PSU is a public institution that supports free speech and free expression, even when the views expressed run counter to the beliefs and values held by many individuals in our community. Maybe that's a really smart response, considering how many places that don't protect free speech are losing their federal funds right now. Something's working. A woman has been found guilty after her 2-year-old nearly died of a fentanyl overdose in Beaverton. And this is a horrific person. These are real problems. And I'm going to contrast that in a moment with things that are not real problems. But suffice it to say, this shouldn't be happening ever. And I'm glad to see that this person has been found guilty. I wonder if they're going to be found guilty when they do this to dogs and stuff too, because I think that's just horrific. The state representative, Dwayne Yunker, who said on April 30th, social media posted he was under investigation for reading a sex scene from a 2016 book called The Haters during remonstrances. And he's under investigation for this because supposedly this book that the Democrats said children must be allowed to read, and it must be made available to them. And the Democrats are passing a bill to ban the ability to remove these books if you're a school district from the library. He read these passages during remonstrances, which is when you get to speak in a less restricted, it's not debate, it's just commentary on the floor of the Oregon legislature. And now the legislature is investigating him for reading a book that was so bad that it couldn't be read publicly while addressing actual legislation. But it should be made available for children to read. So I think this is a big story. This is the Democrats exposing themselves big time, and I think this should become a national news story, and Dwayne should take this all the way wherever it goes and fight it. Fight these people. Make them do what they say they're going to do, which is go after him. I think that's when you say, well, you do that, and he's going to do what he's got to do. I think this is the way to go, and we need to stand behind him. And last story here in our whirlwind tour is ex-Oregon Secretary of State has agreed to pay some fines to the Oregon Ethics Commission. And it relates to she agreed to pay a $1,600 fine because of the expense of continuing to have legal counsel. And the Ethics Commission will meet on Friday and will vote on this deal. It's a sweet deal for her. The state investigation looked into $1,100 of reimbursement she sought and received for hotel accommodations for her and her family during trips as Secretary of State. And she escaped federal charges. They were dropped by the Biden administration before Trump came into office. And, we think that the other shoe should drop at some point for Congresswoman Val Hoyle, now that Shemia Fagan has escaped. Maybe Shemia will have to testify against Val at some point. Certainly, that would be a great result from all of this. But once again, justice will not be done in corrupt Oregon. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that whirlwind show. Sorry to have to go so quickly, and sorry for the technical problem. I appreciate all of you watching and joining us here today. Yeah, I haven't seen the fentanyl bust stuff in Salem yet, but maybe we can cover that tomorrow when on the next episode of The Captive Audience, when we will have Don and Sunny back. Anyway, have a great night, everybody, and I'll see you next week, and we'll see you tomorrow night on the next episode. Have a great night. Thanks. Take care.